Hi, oh my beloved brothers and my beloved sisters. This is the Hippie Pastor back online. It was show number 9 to entertain you with beauty, with love, and with truth. Now, before we continue our story of how where I left off, I was in this cult. I joined this cult of self-righteous fundamentalist Christians called the Hands of God, which would go around condemning and pointing the finger at the hippies and sending people to hell instead of bringing them into heaven. But because I was homeless and I had nowhere to sleep, and also I had nothing to eat, and I had gotten a job so I could find the shaman Don Juan in Mexico, the peyote guru, so I can find the truth of life. So I ended up staying with these people in Venice Beach, the hippie town of Venice Beach back then. Now it's probably maybe a gay town, but before all the hippie towns, all the gay towns used to be hippie towns. So I was there, and God makes no mistakes, brother. God makes no mistakes, sister. It was not according to my understanding. Lean not to your own understanding. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and in all thy ways, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Well, that's what happened with me. And there, one of the things that these people did was that they fasted. They fasted a lot, and they showed from the Bible that fasting, that a lot of the important prophets, and even Jesus Christ himself fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and the prophet Daniel, I think 2 weeks. So they got it in my head. This is something that they put in my subconscious that later it evolves itself. But before we continue, I must say, I wonder if you are all probably familiar with this. It's in Europe, and you see it in North America, but it's originally from the Andes, from the Inca Indians in the Andes, and there's the Andean countries, which are 4. Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. And the Inca Empire extended itself in much of South America. But the people that live in the high altitude, they would wear this. It's called a chuyo. Chuyo. And the chuyo is normally made of alpaca wool, which is one of the warmest, if not the warmest wool on the planet. And so that's why how God is so wise in putting these animals, these cameloids called alpaca, llamas, and in the high altitudes of the Andes for these poor people, so they can make clothing and shirts and ponchos and even hats to protect themselves against the elements of the cold weather. And this is called a chuyo. And so it's worn even today, because even today, unlike North America, the Spaniards did not put the white people, the white Spaniards did not put the native South Americans in reservations. They live free till this day. They roam the Andes with their cameloid animals and their happy lifestyle, with nothing but with love and family and agriculture. They have very little material goods, but they, strangely enough, seem happier than people that live in the most materialistic societies on the face of the earth. People that live in palaces and can say with no shame that they live a miserable life, and they have a brand new car and a brand new house and credit cards. And these people that sleep in the dirt in the high altitude of the Andes, in the cold and the freeze, in adobe, mud huts, wake up in the morning laughing and singing and dancing. Tell me what logic is behind that? And they wear the chuyo. Well, now the little parenthesis I have to make is what happened was this. What happened is that in Peru is one of the most, I guess it's a racist, classist society in South America. So over there, the white, European descendant Peruvians the aristocrats there's a big gap between them and the natives. And the native Peruvians, which were descendants of the Incas and keep their pure lineage, just like the white people keep their pure lineage. But in between we have the mestizos, which are the different mixed races in Peru. And Peru is the most classist and racist of all the four Andean countries. You don't see that much in Colombia. You don't see that much in Bolivia. They're more easygoing. Ecuador, I don't know. I really don't know. But Peru, they're very classist and very racist, more than the others. And so the chullo, the Indians wear it, and some hippies wear it. Hippies wear it, and rock and rollers wear it, and gringo tourists. The tourists love it, and they wear it. But the hippie pastor, I was invited to a rock and roll recital of a Peruvian rock band called Telegraph Avenue. And the bass player of the band, I was invited to this, and it was a rock and roll band, and I figured it was all in the white area of Lima, in the white neighborhood. But I figured they were all like old hippies like me, they had hippies too. There was a hippie revolution here also, mostly in the white districts, and so they listened to Jimi Hendrix. So, it was a recital of a rock and roll band, so I wanted to look cool, man. I had nice clothes. I looked normal, quote unquote normal. And I had a nice shirt and everything. I didn't dress with my spiritual garments. I dressed like a normal citizen, not like a citizen, and so like a civilian. So then, but I had my chullo on, and I thought it looked cool, right? So one of my so-called friends, a white Peruvian of European descent, was very embarrassed and ashamed that I should walk in with a chullo because it represents the natives, which are the lower class, the descendants of the Incas, and she was embarrassed in front of all these white aristocrats that I should go in there where all these white aristocrat old hippies, whatever. And she asked me to please not wear it, that it was embarrassing her. It was going to embarrass her. I could not believe what I was listening because she's a very intelligent person. So I disregarded it. I thought it was a joke or something, I don't know. So I go into the recital, and the bass player of Telegraph Avenue, not the whole band, they had nothing to do with it. Telegraph Avenue band had nothing to do with it. But the bass player, in particular, who was a friend of this other friend, came and violently ripped off my chullo with violence and started stretching it. This is expensive. It's made of pure alpaca. I should have punched him in the mouth. I lacked balls that day. I should have broke a beer bottle over his head if I was in the right spirit. But a friend of mine told me maybe I did the right thing. But I don't know. Well, I wasn't on the attack. I was completely, my shield was down. Big mistake. I was at peace and love. This guy was an old friend of mine, the bass player. He was an old childhood friend. I didn't expect this, but he was serious and he was aggressive. And I moved to another part of the recital in the bar, and he came again, aggressively, violently threatening me that chullos were not allowed in this recital because it was all white people. But it wasn't a thing about hats, because many people there had hats. But I was the only one wearing a chullo, man. Maybe he was just envious. But they were, these are rich people with low self-esteem, man. What's the problem with the chullo, man? I told some mestizo friends of mine, mixed race, I said, hey, I told them what happened, and they said, man, I would have slapped him. I would have slapped him upside the, I would have slapped him so hard. I would have slapped him so hard. I would have slapped him so hard there would have been no slap. He would have been down. So I should have bitch slapped him. I should have bitch slapped him in that moment, and I felt like a coward. But I just walked out and left. That's racism against the chullo, and the Telegraph Avenue should get a new bass player. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the show. I'm sorry. I wanted to continue with this thing that fasting. But in conclusion, allow us To cleanse ourselves from all this negativity, I'm going to read the words of Buddha. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Buddha. So peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. And in the words of the great doctor, king of hippies, Dr. Timothy Leary, tune in, turn on, and drop out. And evolve yourself to Mother Nature and all her love, and be a child of love, and be a child of God with no religion. I love you guys. See you later.